The first couple of chelations wrecked my stomach. I mean, I was throwing up. It was coming out of both ends. Sorry to be raw, but that's really the way it was. And about 5 to 7 chelations in, all of a sudden, I wasn't having stomach problems anymore.
Welcome to the Longevity Unlocked podcast. We are your guide to optimizing your life one health tip at a time. We are not providing a replacement for medical advice. Please always consult your doctor before making any diet, exercise, medical, or lifestyle changes.
On this episode of Longevity Unlocked, we dive into Carly's story, her pain to passion story, how she walked through her health issues to be in the position she is today, where she can help our patients go through their treatment journey from their first phone call through completion with empathy and understanding the entire way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Longevity Unlocked. I'm Coach Kyle here today with Carly, our patient relationship manager. So in our Florida clinic, she is the voice behind the text messages, the voice behind the calls. I'm sure if you have scheduled an appointment with us or been into our office at some point, you have spoken with Carly. So today we're going to talk a little bit about who Carly is, how we got here, and kind of her passion and reason for why she does what she does. So welcome, Carly.
Thank you. It's long overdue for me being on this podcast, but I'm really excited. I share my story a lot with patients that come through the office, but I've never really had a chance to kind of explain it to the masses. And you were a really big part of my journey into my health, getting to the Longevity Center, being on the podcast. I mean, kind of everything that's happened in my life for the past 2.5 years.
Oh, well, thanks for the shout out.
Yeah, of course.
I will say that before we had Jackson, our producer, Carly ran the podcast. So from start to finish, she did the editing, she did the posting, all of it.
I did. They looked at me and they were like, you're someone who knows probably how to use social media. We're doing a podcast. Let's go. And I said, great. I used Windows Movie Maker in like 4th grade to make music videos. So that should absolutely transfer forward.
Yeah.
And it did. And I served my time on the podcast.
Since then, we have actually got a professional setup in a studio. But Carly actually started the podcast, started the whole process with it, got it rolling, and then handed it off when it became time.
Yep. Should we go back a few years before the podcast and kind of explain how we got connected in the first place?
Yeah. So how did I find you?
So I was working at a Restore Hyper Wellness, which is just like a McDonald's IV clinic. And if I'm not mistaken, you were already seeing Dr. K. And you were up in North Florida and needing a couple IVs here and there. And then we also had like cryo and sauna. So you were doing that with us. And you watched me work.
I did. So I was seeing Dr. K, and the problem was he was 3 hours away. And I wanted to be able to get some IV support, glutathione, and stuff like that during my detox process that wasn't a 3-hour drive. So I found this place called Restore. I drove an hour north to Jacksonville. I lived in Palm Coast at the time. And I was sitting there getting my IVs, and I was watching this Carly person. And I saw the manager just kind of like sitting at the front, just on the chair, like not doing anything. And then Carly was just like running the place, like back and forth, like bringing people in, bringing people back, bringing them out, checking them out, upselling, like being like, hey, do you want to do this add-on? Do you want to do that add-on? Hey, here's all your credits. Why don't you take advantage of this and actually maximize what you're paying for? Or have you tried this? And she was all over the place. She always touched in with me while I was doing whatever I was doing, IV or whatever. And I was just impressed.
I think your exact words were, I don't know what it's going to be. Well, one day I'm going to own something and you're going to run it for me. So can I get your phone number? I was still in school at the time. I think I was 20 or 21 years old maybe. And I was looking at this guy doing the most amount of vitamin C and glutathione the store had ever seen. And I'm like, yeah, right, dude. Okay. But of course I gave you my number and you kind of kept tabs on me over the years. And so I was in school at the time for biomedical sciences. I wanted to go into the medical field. That is where my passion was. I love science. I couldn't see myself studying anything else. But over the course of the time in school, I had a couple things happen. One, I took a class that was basically a pre-med seminar class, and we had to write a paper on why you wanted to become a doctor. And it was a 4 p.m. class on a Friday that was attendance-based for the grade. And I didn't want to drop the class because I had sacrificed my Friday afternoons for an entire semester. So instead of dropping the class because I didn't want to write the paper, I actually wrote a full paper on why I didn't want to become a doctor. And I was praised in class for it. But the two main reasons were I was going through a lot of health problems at the time, and they were slowly creeping up more and more. I'm an extremely high performer, so not a lot of people saw what was going on the outside. Like, you had no idea when you saw me at Restore. And then I just wasn't getting what I felt like the care that I needed. I was really frustrated. Every single doctor that I went to was like, it's just anxiety. It's just IBS. Like, it's not a big deal. Nothing's wrong with you. Your labs are fine. What most everybody hears if they're going through something at this point. And so I kind of panicked before I graduated because I knew I no longer wanted to be a doctor, but what the heck was I doing in this major? But it was already way too late to switch my major. I didn't want to be in school for another 3 years. So with working at Restore, I realized that all of the things that were happening there, the IV therapies, the cold plunges, the saunas, this all had scientific backing behind it. So I became really passionate about the research end of those things. And I realized that just because I didn't want to be a doctor doesn't mean I have to switch my major. I can kind of delve into a different side of healthcare, which is, the biohacking, the optimizing, the doing natural things to support your body. And that really is what launched my passion towards that area of health. But my health was still starting to dwindle throughout that whole time. And so we didn't stay in huge communication after I left Restore, but you kept tabs on me and I let you know that I was moving to a sauna company. And so we had a little partnership where you were building houses at the time, and I was able to provide you saunas. And throughout this, every time you checked in and got a sauna, it's like, hey, what are you doing? Where do you think you're at in the next 6 months and the next year? I've got some things on the side. Is this still interesting to you? And I was like, yep. Like, let's keep it going. And I remember you called me in November of 2023, I think it was. And you were like, it's time. When can you leave Sunlight in? And we made a plan. I was going to work throughout December. I was going to take all of January off, have myself an amazing month of just no responsibility, and start with you on February 1st. And that whole plan kind of changed rapidly. And so I had one of my best months in that company. And then on January 2nd, I woke up and I didn't want to work anymore. So I officially quit. And I booked a ticket, a trip to Nicaragua. And it was going to be a 3-week trip. I was like, Kyle, I'll see you on February 1st. So excited to start. I disappeared. And then I think the next phone call that you got was after I got out of the hospital. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if I called you in there or if it was when I got out.
I think you called me before, because you went to Nicaragua, right? Mm-hmm. I think you called me while you were in Nicaragua.
Okay.
And you were coming back.
Yeah.
And then you called me when you got out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so basically I had to call and tell Kyle that the person that he knew and the person that he saw and the person that he kept tabs on over the past 2 to 3 years is no longer there. I was a complete shell of a human being. You've been really vulnerable on this podcast and shared, what you've gone through. And I went through a very similar experience of just everything was really perfect in my life, but I just felt so out of body. I didn't want to be here anymore. And that scared me a lot. And so I called Kyle and I said, hey, I respectfully, I'm not the person you think I'm going to be, and I need to step away. You shouldn't hire me. And instead of letting me walk away, he goes, I have a hunch and you need to go drive to Jupiter, Florida right now and go see this doctor. And I was desperate for a solution. I didn't want to be medicated on 700 different things that change my body chemistry and just, is just a Band-Aid, And so I went and I saw Dr. K, and I had some weird labs that I had done at Restore, and I handed those to him, and he looked at me and he's like, you've got mercury. I think he said you got the Mercs. I had no idea what that was at the time. But I just went along with it. I did science in school. I believe in testing and analyzing all those things. And we went through, we did all the baseline testing, and Dr. K called me. And he goes, hey. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And he goes, what's wrong with you? Are you eating thermometers? I was like, what? And so we got into the conversation and he explained mercury toxicity to me. And that started, my journey on chelation. I think he said at the time that I had the most mercury he'd ever seen in someone under the age of 25. And it was wrecking my thyroid. It was wrecking my mental health. It was wrecking my stomach. All of these things that regular doctors said, it's just anxiety. You're fine. Go get on a pill. And so throughout chelating with Dr. K, I don't really know. It just kind of happened organically. I was working with you. I was starting to get better. The podcast was happening. Toxic Roots, RIP was happening. And I was sitting in Dr. K's office one day and he goes, how mad would Kyle be if I had you come work for me? And I said, you got to figure that out with your boy because I'm not getting in between that.
He actually asked me before he had that conversation with you.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought this was first idea and I was like, I can't do that. Like Kyle helped save my life. I'm loyal to this man. And so there were a lot of different ideas going on at the time. And finally you had called me and said, hey, what we're working on is taking a little longer and I can't withhold this opportunity from you. I also really didn't want to move out of Florida.
It's fair.
I love the state. And so that's kind of when I was introduced to the Longevity Center. And I moved out of my favorite city in the world and I moved back down to South Florida, which is where I'm from. Told my dad at 18, I'm never living in South Florida again because I said never. I ended up back here, but it was the absolute best thing I ever could have done. My whole journey to sitting in this chair today is wrapped in passion. It's wrapped in a testament to the services and the therapies that I see people go through every single day. I feel like it allows me to really hold people's hand emotionally and almost spiritually as they go through the process because I am not only empathetic, I'm sympathetic or vice versa. Mm-hmm. I understand. And so I feel like that really helps with communication and just I've blossomed into this patient coordinating fairy queen with the Longevity Center. And when I was at Restore at 19, 20 years old, I said I would love to do this, but more legitimate. And it's exactly where I am today.
That's amazing. So if you're willing, why don't you tell our listeners about where you were pre-mercury diagnosis and pre-chelation and then where you are post-chelation?
Yeah. Absolutely. I'd like to do the pre of the pre, like maybe before the symptoms started, because I was a very intense athlete throughout my entire life. I unfortunately suffered an injury. I hurt my spine pretty bad when I was a junior in high school, but I was a springboard and platform diver, and I was training more than I was in school by the time 8th grade rolled around. So I've always been energetic. I've always been adventurous. I'm extremely extroverted, and so I love being around people. I do well in crowds. I love to travel and explore. And as some of my symptoms started coming on, one of the biggest things was debilitating anxiety that I just could not comprehend where it was coming from. The things that I loved the most, hanging out with my friends, going to concerts, traveling, were the things that drove me over the edge. What those symptoms looked like was cyclic vomiting pretty much for almost 1.5 to 2 years. I was not bulimic by any means. It was a form of disordered eating, but it was all stemming from the physical feelings of anxiety.
It was the anxiety base.
To the point that my teeth were destroyed from it. Couldn't keep food down. I weighed probably 30 pounds less, close to 30 pounds less than what I do right now. I had no energy for anything. I went from being able to do calculus for 9 hours in the library to not even having the attention span for 15 minutes worth of focusing. I did not feel like myself anymore. And it got to a point I was dealing with these symptoms for so long that if that was what life was going to look like for me, that wasn't a life that I wanted to live. I was constantly in panic and fear, and I couldn't understand where it's coming from. And so when I started the chelation journey, the first couple of chelations wrecked my stomach. I was throwing up. It was coming out of both ends. Sorry to be raw, but that's really the way it was. And about 5 to 7 chelations in, all of a sudden, I wasn't having stomach problems anymore. The symptoms switched. I was now experiencing headaches and brain fog. I call it DMPS drunk because I just get real silly, real stupid with the DMPS. And so that shows kind of where the burden of these metals were in my body. I had a lot clearly in my gut, and so that's where I was reacting. And we removed the bulk from the gut, and so then it's time to start attacking other areas of the body. And through that chelation journey, I learned a lot about the neurotoxicity effects of mercury, and it was to the point where I had diagnoses from psychiatrists. And then after that chelation journey, just for fun, I went back to a psychiatrist to see, and the psychiatrist could not understand why I was diagnosed with what I was diagnosed with. And that was post-chelation, getting my levels down to under 5 or 7. But yeah, the symptoms were just horrendous to the point that I didn't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah. So you went from, I mean, it's a classic, like a lot of people in the integrative space have this classic story of pain to passion, right? It's, hey, I was sick. This helped me, changed my life, saved my life, and now I do this. So now you're feeling better.
Yeah.
Post-chelation, you're working with the Longevity Center. How do you, like, explain what you do at the Longevity Center and then how that story and what you went through kind of wraps that all into how you approach and the passion you have for your job?
Yeah. So what I do at the Longevity Center, I like to joke that that ChatGPT gave me the title of patient relations manager. But really what I'm doing is overseeing or doing myself all of the patient communication. Any question that you have for the doctor, I am getting that answer for you. Any type of scheduling, I'm helping. And I have a team under me now. I didn't when we first started. I have a wonderful team that helps me out with this because there are a lot of patients that we are helping on their health journey. But if you need a lab ordered, if it's time for your prescription to be refilled, if it's time to meet with the doctor, keeping you on track for your journey, because consistency is really important to see results. And then there's the emotional and education side of it, which is, I think, what makes coming to the Longevity Center unique. Because a lot of times I get on the phone with new patients and this is all very new to them. And I remember being new to this and I had somebody that I really trusted, right? Like I was trusting you with my career and I trusted you with my life and I just open arms. I was desperate and I needed something. But not everybody has that connection to this type of medicine and this type of healing. And so being able to emotionally connect and understand where they're starting, but also educate. Because what I have found throughout really all of my different jobs is that the more you know, the better you are at advocating for your own health so that you can make the best decision for your health, whether that be with us or anywhere else in the world. And so it's rare, I think, to get on the phone with a clinic that is seeing so many people. And I step into a private room and I sometimes talk for 40 minutes with a patient because this is so new. They've never been listened to before by somebody. They've never been, heard or respected in their journey. They've been pushed off time and time again. And so that first interaction, I feel, is so important to set the energy and the level of attention and well-rounded comprehensive healing that we really offer at the Longevity Center, because healing is not just physical. It's emotional, it's spiritual, it's mental, and everybody on our team recognizes that, which I think is really important.
Yeah. I mean, well said. Very well said. Thank you for being so open and vulnerable.
Yeah.
And telling people your story. I think it's very important that people hear where we came from, where our employees, where our practitioners, like where we started and where we're going, because it shows that it's not a business to us, right? I mean, yeah, it is a business, but at the end of the day, this is why I get up and do what I do every day. It's why you get up and do what you do every day.
I love it. It doesn't, and again, extrovert at heart, right? So I get to talk to people all day long. I get to share stories. I get to educate. I get to teach. I would love to be Miss Frizzle at some point in my life. I'd love to be a science or a health teacher of some sorts. And I really get the opportunity to combine things that I am passionate about, explain what the Longevity Center does, and help just, I can't even find the words. I'm so passionate and so grateful to be here. It doesn't feel like work. It's my passion. It's my life. It brings me so much joy at the end of the day. Sometimes it is exhausting, but it is so worth it. Because when I hear people call in or I, check in on them after their first EBOO treatment and they're like, I slept for 5 to 6 hours at one time for the first time in years. Oh my freaking goodness.
Yeah.
Like the conversation that I had with them, Emily walking them through the front desk, getting them in the back with the nurses, having the consultation with Dr. K, like all of that has come together to get this person their first 5 to 6 solid hours of sleep that they've had in years. And the benefits go so much more beyond that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I get to lay in bed happy every single night knowing that I get to be part of this.
I love it. I love it. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we wrap?
Call me.
She's like, please, I want to talk to you. I'm extroverted.
Let me explain some services. If there's something you don't know, ask questions. I love answering questions. I love educating. I also love having fun. And yeah, that's really it. I can't believe I did a podcast.
Do you want to do a giveaway, Carly? Do you want to give something away?
I would love to give something
What
away.
do you want to give away?
The Carly.
The Carly. What is it? Oh, there's an IV.
There is an IV.
Name the Carly.
Name the Carly.
Okay.
I do it typically before and after I travel. It's like an immunity IV on steroids. So yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna give away the Carly IV. Let's just make the secret code word the Carly.
The Carly.
So call in and say the Carly to Carly or Cass if you live in South Carolina. And the first one you'll get for free. Second person that calls in is 50% off. And the third and after that, it's a 10% discount. As always, you have to leave a Google review with written kind words and a review on our podcast platforms.
Should I drip the Carly with whoever gets the free Carly?
Oh, that would be cool.
I think we should do that.
We could do that. So if you call in and you get the free Carly, Carly will actually sit there with you and do a Carly.
Yes.
That's about as Carlyception as you could possibly get.
I love it.
Love it. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on Longevity Unlocked. I'm Coach Kyle here with Carly.
Bye, guys.
This podcast is not medical advice, and any information taken from this episode should be discussed with your medical provider and not be a replacement for a consultation. We disclaim any responsibility for any possible adverse effects from information taken from the episode.